Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
The government's core mandate is to maintain law and order, safeguard citizens' rights, and provide essential public services.
Remember, one of the pillars of the roadmap is innovation and entrepreneurship.
There has been this question of how are you protecting our indigenous seed?
It's going to be a tall project. That answers somebody's question.
For the past 20 weeks, the front bench has brought you insightful discussions on governance, security, healthcare, justice, and commerce.
When you go through this complicated procedure, involve the lawyers, you bring the case against him, the judge will hear you out and pass judgment, and you're out of court in record time.
We remain committed to keeping you informed and engaged on key national matters.
So these are huge, these are powerful organizations which now Uganda chairs. Why don't you come together?
If we haven't migrated to the e-card because of various reasons, including that not all the people of Uganda have smartphones.
You can sit in your house, apply for a passport.
If you have a Ugandan who has a successful logistics firm in the US, it means he can come to Uganda and do a lot more.
Now airing every Monday at 8:30 p.m. with me, Jethro Kasaiji, your interface with the government only on your public broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
I'd love to take this opportunity to thank our President, Yoweri Kaguta Turihabura Museveni, by coming up with a Myoga program. We started in 2021 as Kasumi Parish Carpenters and Myoga Circle. When we received this amount of 30 million, we had a problem, we had a challenge of machines. We used to carry our wood and we would carry it up to Waise to be worked on. So when we got this chance, we are able to buy machines to ease our work of carpentry. At the moment, we are a number composed of 140 members. We have the women who come in and do saloon chairs. We have the men doing 3-drawer tables, 2-drawer tables, and different kind of furniture. Before the Myoga program came in, we had a lot of crimes taking place on this road. When this Myoga program came up, we managed to collect these youth. We gave them hope that you can change from stealing, and we can give you skill so that you be someone in the society that we even.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Welcome to the Extra. Thank you so much for being with us on UBC TV. I'm Robert Cherabo, your intern, on this wonderful Thursday, where we choose to focus on excuse me, issues regarding our environment. And this time around, we are looking at lead pollution and impact to city dwellers in Uganda. Now, I have experts. I have a panel of a number of guests this morning, and we are going to be discussing so much regarding your health, but also pollution, and specifically lead or lead, as people may prefer to call it, but I know doctor here will give me the best. Now, join me welcome my guest this morning. I have Dr. Emmanuel Tebandeke, who is the country coordinator, GAP, and he's from Makerere University as well. He's at the extreme end. Doctor, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, dear viewers. My name is Dr. Emmanuel Tebandeke. I'm the head Department of Chemistry, and I'm also the coordinator of GAP activities in Uganda.
And next to Doctor, I have James Kubonere, who is the Deputy Public Health Department, Kampala Capital City Authority. That is the department he comes from. That is Public Health Department of Kampala Capital City Authority. Good morning, James, and welcome.
Good morning, Bwana Chirabo, and good morning, dear viewers. I welcome you to this session where we want to discuss very pertinent issues concerning our health. And I'm Kunobere James Bond, the Acting Deputy Director, Environment and Sanitation, Directorate of Public Health and Environment in Kampala Capital City Authority. You're welcome.
Okay, then just next to me is a lady, gender fully catered for. So activists, we have a lady on this panel, and that is Charikunda Bridget, who is the climate change lead at Yadnet. I hope I pronounced it right.
Yes.
And she's with me in the studios. Good morning, Bridget, and welcome.
Good morning, Robert. Good morning, viewers. Welcome to this show. My name is Bridget Charikunda. I lead the Environment and Climate Change team at Yadnet. Yadnet is Youth Advocacy and Development Network. Good to be here.
Okay, and via Zoom, I'll be having Maria Paula Lear, who is the Executive Director, Global Alliance on Health and Pollution, and she'll be with us from Geneva, that is Switzerland. So we shall be having her via Zoom. But also I am expecting later on to be joined by Nuwagaba Frank, who is a consultant in paint and coating industry, currently based at Next Painters Limited. He's going to be joining us later on as we move in. But just to start with, Doctor, you're the scientist we have on the panel, the complicated one, heading the Department of Chemistry. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, now this makes you the best candidate to explain to our viewer. We are going to be talking about lead pollution. What is this? Is it a chemical? Please break it down in simple terms for even those that never did any chemistry to understand it.
Thank you very much, Chirabo, for that question. Lead naturally is a metal, and it's commonly used in a number of metallic items, but can also exist as salts. So it's also used in a number of salts. It is used in different applications in the paint industry, in the metal fabrication, in the battery manufacturing industry. So it has a lot of applications. And because of this, it has found its way in a number of environmental systems. But lead is actually a highly toxic metal. And due to its wide usage, it has ended up in water systems, in food systems. And once it finds its way in the food chain, it means that it finds its way into human beings. And the human body, lead has no biological function, but it affects virtually all body systems. Lead can affect the nervous system, lead can affect the stomach, it can affect the heart, it can affect the blood system, it affects the reproductive health. In men, it can lead to low sperm counts. In pregnant women, it can cause miscarriages, it can cause birth defects, and it's particularly very dangerous to the developing children. That for children, it causes a lot of development challenges. which leading to a number of cases including low IQ in children, behavioral disorders, such that you have a community where the children cannot reach their full potential. They perform poorly in the class. They tend to have high rates of crime in communities that are exposed. And why it is important for the children is mainly because for the children, they can easily be exposed to lead. Lead has a sweet taste. So once it's used to coat toys, children find it sweet to taste on these toys that are coated with the lead, to ingest dust that contains lead. And once it's in the bodies of these children that are developing, it easily causes a lot of development challenges. For children that have deficiency in minerals, where children lack calcium, they lack iron, they lack zinc, when lead is present in the system, it can't enter those systems. So during formation of bonds, where there should be calcium, lead can enter the system. In the blood, where there should be iron, lead can enter into the system. So causing a lot of havoc in the body. Globally, it is reported that 1 in every 3 children are actually affected by lead. Statistics in Uganda show that an estimated 5 million children in our country are affected by lead. A recent study done around Chitezi, that dump site, showed that about 20% of the children had elevated blood lead levels, implying that our communities are vulnerable and our communities could be exposed to this danger without actually knowing the extent of the danger. So worldwide, organizations like WHO, UNICEF are putting in effort to see that there is a reduction in lead exposure and lead pollution, and governments are picking on such that we have measures on how we can ensure that there is a reduction in lead exposure and pollution in the environment. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for that explanation. It is a metal, that is one thing I've learned. And it can also be manifesting as salts, you said?
Yes.
Now, later on we shall look at the sources and of course where lead comes from, but I'm very quick to move to KCCA. Now, James Bond, when you talk about lead, one thing that runs to my mind, like you even said, the research in Kitezi, what is KCCA doing to ensure that this danger does not surface? I've forgotten which year, but there was a report also that was indicating that most of the water we use in Kampala contains lead in it. So what steps are you taking?
Thank you so much for that question. First and foremost, KCCA as an agency has a responsibility of ensuring that the laws that govern such items, what we would call hazardous items in the environment, are actually implemented. On our part, as an agency responsible for the city, we are doing our best, especially in creating awareness to the public in regard to waste management in general, because waste as a chain has several avenues in which such hazardous kind of items can come out or can end up into our ecosystems.
Maybe just to cut you short, we now have Paula with us via Zoom. Let's just at least say hello to her and then we'll return to you. Hello, Paula.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for inviting us. How are you?
We are very fine. At least my guests are fine, the panelists I have here, and good to know that you're watching and you're ready with us as we continue. Now, I'll be getting back to you shortly. Let's just James Bond conclude with his submission. Yet, Jim.
Yeah, thank you. Secondly, we are also educating the public on how to sort waste. Because this waste is generated by you and me from our respective places. And as you are aware that the law puts the onus of responsible disposal to the generator. So we are educating the public on how to sort waste. First, separating hazardous waste from non-hazardous or organic from inorganic, and in all forms of waste streams. So then the other component we are doing is we are educating the public, especially on those responsible companies that are dealing in hazardous waste like lead. For example, garages, battery sellers, and then saloons. Of course, there is some component of lead in some of the cosmetics. And then all other generators of such waste. We are informing them about how to deal with this waste, like also inclusive of the electronic and electric handlers, gadgets, TVs, old TVs, phones, radios. So you will find that as we dispose our waste, much as it may not be in the right, we have not reached that envisaged kind of disposal, but you will not find such gadgets in our disposal site. So we inform them of who is supposed, how they are supposed to handle it. For example, we have, as our sister agency, NEMA, has actually certified some hazardous waste handlers. So in this respect, we educate them on who is supposed to handle that waste. So you will not find the electrical and electronic handlers or sellers bringing their waste to our skips or any even our waste handlers, the concessionaires. They have strict instructions not to engage in hazardous waste transportation and disposal. Okay, and we have actually gone ahead to even, as the donors said, that lead is sweet, and if it is coated on items that are used by children, it may be toxic. We have also gone into schools, creating awareness in schools, and actually you will find that even at KCCA, we have gone ahead to even assigning each from deputy director level to executive director of the institution. We have each director, executive director or deputy director assigned to a particular school in terms of counseling, creating awareness in all these primary schools in the city. So that's how far we have gone. And even at the dump site, we even screen. We do not, we inspect the waste that is brought. That's why we have proper record of whoever brings each waste to the site. We record. And in any case, if you have by accident they have brought it in, we hold responsible the concessionaire or the transporter. So we are taking all precautions necessary, but also we have engaged our colleagues, National Water, and we work together with Ministry of Health in drawing samples, sample water analysis within the city, so that we are moving together to ensure that we do not expose our city dwellers to such hazardous items.
Well, thank you so much for the efforts that KCCA is doing. I'll get back to you when you say advising the city dwellers in sorting, because one would wonder if they don't have where to put, then how are they able to sort? Maybe that will work for clinics, for institutions, but at home level, residential, our brothers in the ghetto, where even just now, if someone can't afford bread, cake may be hard for them. But I'll get back to you later to elaborate more on that. Now, coming to Bridget here, YardNet has been around for some time, and one would want to know, what is it that you've done that is meaningful when it comes to the battle of ensuring that lead is not harmful? We eliminate it where we can find it. We ensure that the public is also aware to fight this.
Well, YardNet has done quite a number of efforts put in quite a number of activities, specifically in Kampala, to make sure that people are aware of lead pollution and the dangers it brings to our human health. Why this campaign is on. You realize the first phase of the project was on doing assessment on some of the products that are on the market, such as cosmetics. In the same report, it came out that 2% of the cosmetics contain 2% of lead, but also pregnant mothers that take clay from wetlands, that clay contain more than 100% of lead. You can imagine the impact it has on human health. Also, lead can be transported from the breastfeeding mother to the child who is being breastfed. But also, if a woman is pregnant that is craving to take clay, in this case, lead can also be transported from them to the unborn baby's body. So that's so much impact on people's health. So we came up with this campaign to make sure that people are aware of the products that they use. Some of the paints contain high amounts of lead that are very disastrous to our human health. And according to the 2019 World Health Organization report, over 1 million people die annually because of lead pollution. So that is why we came up with this campaign to make sure that people are aware of the dangers of the products they use. Things like lipstick that the women use contain some lead, because lead has a shiny component in it. So that is why women use them. And then in the long run, it will accumulate in people's bodies and at the end affect their health. So the campaign has focused on schools to make sure that the students in schools are aware of lead, its dangers, its sources, and the waste they generate. If they are generating the waste that contains lead, how do they handle it before KCCA comes in? But also on community outreaches, specifically on areas that are prone to high amounts of lead pollution exposure. Chitezi is one of them. It has a dumping site. Katwe, where battery recycling is, you realize some of the batteries contain lead. And also other communities, specifically slums, that contain people that handle materials with lead. So basically that's what we have done. And also this TV show is one of them, to make sure that people know. I'm sure this is a national TV, actually international. So people will be aware of this information of lead pollution and what they can do to address it.
Lead pollution is what we are looking at and what you can do to avoid it. 1 million people die every year due to lead. Now, this is something that you can consume unknowingly. That is why now allow me go to Paula, who is with us from Geneva. Hello, Paula, are you still with us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Well,
I'm here with you.
Yeah, briefly tell us about the Global Alliance on Health and Pollution and what you are doing in the number of countries where you have operations to ensure that lead pollution is something that we can overcome and change statistics.
Thank you for the question. With pleasure. The Global Alliance on Health and Pollution is a Swiss foundation based in Switzerland, but more importantly, and why in Switzerland, in Geneva? Because I mean, it's really the place for global health and the place for the United Nations and multi-stakeholder collaboration and multilateralism. So this is why we're based here, but our main mission is to collaborate, especially with low and middle income countries, helping them prioritizing pollution issues impacting health outcomes. So lead is just one of them, but it's a very good example, because as we heard today, lead is very toxic. I mean, so we are a collaborative body of more than 70 members and observers, and that includes Ministry of Environment and Ministry of Health, different countries, but also university, other NGOs, and other very important players. So we want really to work together, eliminating disease and deaths caused by preventable causes like lead and pollution. Coming to the second part of your question, what we are doing, we work in two main areas. One is advocacy, because of course it's important to raise awareness about the issues linked to pollution and what this is causing. And advocacy, it's a different level. It can be, you know, what we heard today, going into the community and explaining the risk. But it can be also speaking with governments to inform them about, you know, what are the regulatory framework or policy existing, what are the barriers or the tools, which very often are already available in the country. And then doing this also at UN level. So we are observer member of UNEP and the different convention. For example, when it comes to lead, we are expert observers and members of a working group of the Basel and Rotterdam and Stockholm Convention. The Basel Convention address also issues linked with lead, like specifically we work on used lead acid batteries. We work in Uganda on this, but also in other parts of the world. We have a project in the Mercosur, for example, in Latin America, on used lead acid batteries. In Uganda specifically, our work is always convened in a multi-stakeholder way, and it started with a very good collaboration with NEMA and all these people that you have, these beautiful people that you invited today. It's a very good example of how we work together. It's never, it's never a project led by GAP. It's more of a process accompanied by GAP together with the local players.
Well, thank you so much, Paula. But also you've shared that you work in a number of countries. Now, for Uganda's case, if you are to talk about this problem, lead pollution, give us your analysis of the picture compared to other countries. How are we faring as Uganda?
I mean, to be honest, this is an issue in several countries, and one of the main problems is that very often we lack very good data. So one of the first things that we try to do is to create those data and those analyses which are critical for governments to make a proper intervention at different level. How can a government regulate properly or make the right decision if data on lead contamination or other type of contamination, pollution, are not available? And this is, you know, very common in many countries. So we first work on to create the tools, the decision-making tools, so that the governments can have science with them, can make informed decision-making. And this is what we did in Uganda when we started. We did together a policy review and assessment, a desk assessment of all the existing policy, and see what were the limitations in the regulatory institutional framework and all, you know, the other interventions that were needed to be done. But as I mentioned, that was not a GAP suggestion. GAP convened a working group, and for lead specifically, what we call a lead working group, together with different players, led by our coordinator in the country, Emmanuel, who's with you today, from the Makerere University, but accompanied and in strong partnership with NEMA, your Minister of Environment, as well as, you know, other players like WHO participant, but also local institution, YANET, the civil society, because we really want to hear all the voice and we want everybody to be informed. This lead working group focused on doing all the analysis of what Uganda is already doing very well and what Uganda can improve. And then they were looking into the priorities intervention, because the things to do are many, but of course, with limited resources and time, we want also to address what is more critical to do to tackle these issues quicker and more efficiently. And today you heard about an advocacy campaign. This is why we came up with an advocacy campaign, because one of the priorities that this working group lay out and address was to make sure that, you know, everybody was informed properly, from government and the different ministries and institutions coming to general population. So this is what we are working on at the moment in Uganda, but I hope that, you know, this is, I don't know, I know that this is just a step, because we intend to remain and continue to collaborate with you.
Okay, well, we are still with you. Now we are looking at lead pollution in Uganda, and more so to the urban dwellers. Doctor, coming back to you, one would wonder, we've talked about this lead, but what are some of the sources of lead for our viewer to know those things I should watch out seriously for?
Thank you very much for that question. Just like Maria Paula has highlighted, This project initiated with support from the Global Alliance on Health and Pollution, and in the initial phase of the project, we carried out an assessment of the issues related to lead management in Uganda. And one key issue we looked at was the major sources of lead pollution in the country. And we identified a number of sources. One of them is the paint industry, obviously. That lead is used in the paint industry to add certain characteristics to the paint. It is used as a pigment, it is used as a drying agent, it is used to enhance durability of the paint film. So a lot of lead compounds are added to the paint. So that comes as a source of pollution, because as paint is put onto the wall, as the paint is drying up, the film breaks and then releases lead into the environment. Another source of lead exposure are the recycling of the lead acid batteries. The batteries that we use in our cars may contain up to 8 to 10 kilograms of lead. So once you use a battery after 1 or 2 years and you throw it away, you are throwing away lead. So what's happening is that in the informal sector, in areas of Katwech, Senyi, they get these batteries and then they smelt it. They melt that lead and then make it into ingots. In doing so, particulate lead is released into the atmosphere. So they're doing it in Katwe or Chisenyi. Someone who stayed up this side, it still can come through air. But also the effluents produced from the battery manufacture of that recycling also goes onto the soils, find its way into wetlands. Another source that we saw is, of course, solid waste disposal. As James Bond has highlighted here, as people are collecting waste, there are metallic elements there. The scrap metal, but also the electronics. Some of these contain heavy metals that are toxic, including lead. So during solid waste disposal at sites like Echitezi, leachates can come out of the disposal site, but also as people are scavenging these metals, they are exposed to lead through contact. Another source of exposure is the metallic cookware, that as people recycle the lead, some of it is used to fabricate saucepans. And when people are fabricating the saucepans, the lead is added to improve on the properties of the metal to make it more malleable. In doing so, you are adding a source of pollutant into the saucepan. So during cooking, this metal can leach into the food that you are cooking. Mind you, there are no safe levels of lead that whatever you take into the body has capacity to actually impact on your health. Another source of exposure are cosmetics. A number of cosmetic products. My colleague has highlighted about lipstick. The lead is added to these cosmetic products mainly to enhance color. The attractive colors that we see, those very bright orange, yellow colors, many of them are lead compounds. So you're putting the lipstick, but you are introducing a toxin onto your body. There are other sources like foodstuffs. Some people add lead compounds to enhance the color of spices. So you have turmeric, which has that bright color. Usually the natural colors are not that bright, but lead compounds have these very attractive colors. The chromates, dichromates, they have these attractive yellow and orange colors. So some of these are added to spices to enhance color. But in doing so, you are introducing a pollutant, you're introducing a toxic element into the food stuff. We have issues of water, that some of the plumbing materials may contain lead, and as these lead pipes are delivering the water onto our homes, then the lead can come from the pipes into the water that we are drinking. So in the initial phase of this project supported by GAP, we had an assessment of what's the status of lead pollution in the country, and those were the key areas that were identified as the major sources of lead pollution in the country.
Well, thank you so much, Doctor. Doctor has quite a number of commitments, and I'll just go for a break, allow him to continue, and Nwagaba Frank will be joining us after this break. But just remind you, today we have the Musevenomics Conference that is running today and tomorrow at Mistil Hotel in Kampala here, and UBC TV will have that live. And we expect the Honorable Minister for Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Honorable Matia Kasaija, will be part of this conference. We expect Professor Augustus Nwagaba the Deputy Governor, Bank of Uganda, and also we expect General Caleb Akandanaho, also known as Salim Saleh, as the chairperson of the Wealth Development Fund, who will also be there. So you can't afford these speakers and what message they have regarding the economic policies that President Yoweri Museveni adopted from 1968 to see how they have worked, what hasn't worked, what has to be improved, what has to be dropped. So we'll be giving you this live from Still Hotel in Kampala. Do not go anywhere because the Musevenomics Conference is kicking on today and tomorrow. Allow me return from this break.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Uganda Development Forum, in partnership with Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, is organizing a two-days Musevenomics Conference on the 29th and 30th of May 2025. The conference is dedicated to exploring Uganda's revolutionary economic model under the theme, Sustaining Musevenomics, hence navigating Uganda's economic future in a disrupted world. His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, and the Chairman of Uganda Development Forum, General Salim Saleh, will lead a team of distinguished speakers in economics and development. The Musevenomics Conference 2025 is sponsored by Uganda Development Forum in partnership with Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, Uganda Development Corporation, Parish Development Model, and Operation Wealth Creation.
Pick of the day on UBC.
He expected me to die like within the first 2 years.
Out of the blue, the child will get pains, especially in the wrists. And this happens commonly when children are starting to walk.
Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, don't know.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21# and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Looking for instant excitement? The Uganda National Lottery Spin for Cash game is now available online. Wherever you are, you can join the excitement for just 500, 1,000 and 2,000 Uganda shillings. Don't miss out. Register now on www.nationallottery.go.ug for a chance to win your share of 2 billion instantly. What are you waiting for? Play Spin for Cash now, anytime, anywhere. Ituba is the proud operator of the Uganda National Lottery.
Uganda National Lottery. Dream, play, win.
Participants must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. The Uganda National Lottery is operated by Ituba Uganda and regulated by the National Lotteries and Gaming Regulatory Board.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Thank you for being with us. Welcome back from that break. I still have the lady and gentleman with me on set, but I'm also joined Nwagaba Frank, who is a consultant in paint and coating industry, currently working with Next Paint Limited. You're welcome to the set.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here to address this global issue, and I think we are precisely at the right time to exhaust it before our lives are put into extremely dangerous place. Otherwise, if we don't control lead, then we are most likely going to have our population demolished. And yeah.
Now, you come from the paint and coating industry, and one of the areas that have been highlighted is that particular area. Throw more light. Why is it still one of the leading areas where lead is mostly used?
In paint manufacturing, one of the major one of the major requirements for any setup, industrial setup or manufacturing discipline is the raw materials. And the raw materials that we use, one of the major raw materials is pigments, and 90% of the pigments at least have lead in them. And we cannot do away without the pigments because we need color, we need bright colors. So there is no way how we can avoid pigments, and that means there is no way how we can do away with the lead. Initially, these oil paints used to have a dryer. That is an ingredient that is added to a paint to make sure that it dries in a shorter time. But then it came out as a global concern that those dryers which were based on lead should be banned, and alternatives were brought about. But then when it came to pigments, it has become impossible to replace them because of those pigments which have got lead in them. They have most desirable features or characteristics. Someone who is buying paint, maybe for instance a 20 liter at 300,000, that person will expect like the good performance of the paint, beauty to be looking so good. So there is always a price to pay. Now those pigments, still people desire them so much that they need those beautified colors. They want their buildings to look nice, and that means lead, they have to be with lead for as long as they have those desirable features in the paint.
So we all love beautiful paint. You have your house, your bedroom, you want them to look very, very beautifully colored, those shiny colors. So how can we avoid the side effects? Because if we must live with, so how can we avoid?
Lead poisoning or lead pollution starts actually from the very first step of paint manufacturing. Because those pigments, they are in very, very tiny particles of sizes of maybe 1/1,000,000th of a meter, which I can call scientifically a micrometer. Very, very small. So when you are using those pigment powders, because all the pigments, majority of them are powders, because those powders are very small, they can easily
evaporate
into the environment, which means when you are not protected, when you don't have your nozzle area protected, they can easily enter into your respiratory system. So that is one. When you are making paint and maybe you find you don't have the hand gloves, you don't have personal protective equipment, you are going to find that still you are touching in the paint, and in one way or the other, you are getting in contact with the lead. Then when you are also applying the paint, and I think that's where the problem is mostly on the application. Because people are on site applying paint, you find they just get the paint, they add water, then they get the hand and mix, and so they are exposed. The exposure to such kind of people is too much compared to even the people who are making it. Then even after the application of the paint, because we've already seen that the colors which have pigments in them, which have lead in them, are those bright colors which are desirable, especially when you go to these kindergartens, nursery schools. You are going to find there a variety of colors because children want to have those collection of colors. And you find maybe 6 out of the 8 colors in a kindergarten or in a nursery school, they have lead in them. What does that mean? It means that the children at the level of a kindergarten, even if you try to create awareness, it may be very difficult for children to understand that they do not need to go and touch the paint. And now that population of the children being the highly targeted area, I think the awareness must mainly be emphasized on the schools. But to begin with, the most important thing is to protect yourself. When you are
Yes.
making paint, protect yourself, make sure that you have the gloves, you have the masks, you have the overcoats. Then when you are also applying paint, let the painters themselves also be protected with gloves. Let them not touch paint directly, because you find people as they are rolling paint, the paint is falling on them. When you look at someone who has been painting a building from morning up to maybe 4,
Yes.
at 4 you are going to look at that person when he is full of
Paint as well.
And that
Well, I earlier communicated that anytime we may be moving to Mistil Hotel in Kampala, where we have the Musevenomics conference that is kicking on, so I must quicken certain things. Now, let me just quickly go to Paola, who is via Zoom. Paola, as we almost come to the end of the show, let me just get your parting shots, please.
First, I just want to comment that we have many beautiful painting without lead. And actually, this comes with regulation in countries. So I know that, lead can help in having durability of the paint, or, as our participants say, maybe it can last more. But I want to remind you that it's possible to produce paint without lead. And then the conclusion, what was your question? To have a concluding remark, or I didn't hear you very well? I just wanted to make that comment first.
Your parting shot, just your parting shot.
What I wanted to say is that in Uganda, we found a very nice collaborative environment. And so irrespective of whether there are lack in certain areas that can be improved, like in many countries, and still a lot remain to be done, we are really comfortable that we found a very collaborative environment, and especially with your Minister of Environment. So we are sure, although that there is still limited public awareness. Thank you very much for this show, because
well, thank you so much.
To be informed.
Thank you so much, Paola, who is the Executive Director, Global Alliance on Health and Pollution Gap. She was with us via Zoom from Geneva. Now I'll come to you, Bridget, your parting shot.
Thank you. You realize that the extent to which we are exposed to lead is so much, but we can do something. So if I know, I can tell the other. In so doing, we shall raise more awareness such that people are aware of the dangers of lead and can protect themselves. But also, as a requirement to government, we need a policy that specifically addresses lead. Most of the policies address pollution in general, but we don't see policies targeting lead. Thank you.
And the gentleman from KCCA, which is also government, we must say, as we move out of here, it's important for us to know what, from your perspective, should be done to address this giant in the room.
Thank you so much, moderator. And my take from here is that I agree the awareness levels are still low, and we have a lot to do. Secondly, in this country, what you realize is that anything that does not show its impact in the shortest time, we take it for granted. I think we need to kind of put in more modalities of creating, apart from talking. Our colleagues in the civil society, you can animate this and really bring out the statistics. Like as she was saying, that it's 1 million people dying. But now, when you put it at a global scale, people still take it far. But I think we need to calm down. The other issue I've always also realized is that we need to assist our brothers in, for example, the cosmetics, salons. We need to profile on these segments and tell the Mr. Painter that, please, this is how they even they feel proud to put on that gown with so many colors and move. It's like a form of an advert for him or herself. So I think we need to go and really, again, emphasize some sections of society that are at risk, especially even kindergartens. I take it up seriously because in Kampala, I think we have the biggest number of these young holding sites. Young people, so we are going to really put much emphasis also there. But also, I call upon our colleagues in the city, in the business community, especially those who are dealing in those sensitive areas, please, this time we are coming to, I think we need to enforce seriously, like down like these buildings that deal in electronic and electric waste. Even our garages, I think now I'm going to take it up seriously and focus on those areas.
Well, commitment made, and we are talking about lives of Ugandans as far as lead is concerned. Frank, I'll just give you seconds, please.
For me, in conclusion, I would think that we still need a lot from maybe the government, because we need to raise awareness. The entire population is not aware of this kind of lead poisoning. They are totally not aware. And I think we need to create awareness. And then especially for the paint industry, like the executive director has said, we can still make lead-free paint. That means there are alternative pigments which do not have lead in them. And once those pigments are available, then we can still do the paint without the lead. But the challenge is, how do we get those pigments? For small scale manufacturers, are we able to import those pigments? The answer is no. So if they can be maybe availed on a local market, so that those small scale manufacturers can also have them available to them, then we can control lead from the source, rather than at the end of it when it has already done its adverse effects.
Well, I just want to thank you, Frank, James Bond, and Bridget, but also thank Paul, who has been via Zoom. Thank you so very much for being part of this parlor. And also a doctor who left earlier on. Well, one thing that is very important is we are having silent killers. And one of the silent killers is lead. So how best do we prevent ourselves from being victims of lead? Government, please, regulation. But even us, let's take interest to find out on personal level, so that we do not have these statistics stand and continue to grow as they are. Well, now we'll be going to Mistil Hotel in Kampala here for the Musevenomics conference that is ongoing today and tomorrow, live on UBC TV. Have the best of your day. Good morning.
He blends it with what was happening around. He blends it with the autonomy to implement Uganda's specific initiatives and the current era of the Bretton Woods institutions. So how have we evolved, and how do we evolve going forward? So at the core, Musevenomics embodies a pragmatic and adaptive approach. We have seen him switch from one side to another to try to adapt the economic management and integrate elements of capitalism, socialism, traditional African systems, while drawing on the multiple different economic perspectives, including the classicals, the Keynesians, and the other approaches. So from 1986, Museveni demonstrated pragmatism, pivoting away from rigid ideological positions toward what a mixed economy should look like. And we see that also in his 10-point program, as we'll explain later. So the transition from the Marxist that he came in, people knowing that is what he was, and I want to believe that that trend was more to win the political battles. Because at that time, when you're in the guerrilla warfare, the sources where you're likely to find support were Marxist leaning. So people thought also he would pursue the Marxist ideologies in the economic side. That's the adaptive and flexible person who you'd say, what do I need at this point to cross the river? And he would adopt that. So while Marxist leaning helped him to win